The United States government confirmed on Monday that it allowed Ukraine to use long-range ballistic missiles against the Russian province of Kursk. The first vice president of the United Socialist Party of Venezuela, Diosdado Cabello, assured that the Simón Bolívar Liberator organic law will eliminate impunity for those who violate the Venezuelan constitution. And the government of China has rejected on Monday the U.S. military plan to deploy missiles in Japan and the Philippines. Hello and welcome to From the South. I'm Alejandra Garcia from TeleSUR Studios in Havana, Cuba. We begin with the news. Stay with us. The United Nations Relief and Works Agency for Palestine refugees warned that the risk of drought and disease threatens the lives of residents of the Gaza Strip amid Israeli aggressions. UNRWA added that the drought in Gaza is due to the lack of fuel to operate the water wells, especially in the north of the Strip, which has been subjected to an escalation in the genocide for some 50 days. The United Nations agency denounced that some 70,000 Palestinians are struggling to obtain water, a basic human right that remains out of reach for many. The situation is made worse by the shortage of food and medical supplies due to the persistent Israeli genocide and the border blockades that prevent the entry of humanitarian aid. The Israeli government preliminarily accepted a possible ceasefire agreement in Lebanon. The official Israeli Broadcasting Authority made the announcement after specifying that although Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu agreed to evaluate the proposal of a ceasefire put forward by the United States, the decision is not final. This comes in the context of a visit by the U.S. envoy Amos Hochstein, who gave a deadline to reach an agreement. The U.S. representative notified Israel that if it does not reach an agreement in the next few days, it will abandon the negotiations. The government of Iraq denounced a plan to expand the war in the Middle East after the Israeli aggressions against Palestine and Lebanon. During his 8th annual conference for Iraqi ambassadors, Iraqi Foreign Minister Fuad Hussein stressed the importance of enhancing diplomatic efforts to prevent any aggression and possible threats against Iraq. This in the midst of the ongoing attacks against the Gaza Strip in Lebanon and the Israeli regime's plan to expand its war to other countries in the region. In this regard, Hussein stressed the need to intensify efforts to reach a ceasefire in Palestine and Lebanon.
These days, there are wars and attacks in the surrounding region. There is an aggression against the Palestinian people, an aggression against the Lebanese people, and there is a plan to expand this aggression and expand the war, to other countries.
The United States government confirmed on Monday that it allowed Ukraine to use long-range ballistic missiles against the Russian province of Kursk. The statement was made by the White House National Security Council spokesman, John Kirby, in which he also stated that the government had changed the guidelines on the use of these weapons. In recent days, the Ukrainian regime carried out attacks with U.S. long-range ballistic missiles, ATACMS, and British cruise missiles against the Russian territory. In response to the aggressions, Moscow launched a missile against a military plant in the southeast of Ukraine. The Russian government reaffirmed its goodwill to negotiate for the peace process with Ukraine. The Russian spokesperson Dmitry Peskov asserted that his government has always been open to peace talks. Moreover, Peskov highlighted that President Vladimir Putin is ready to settle differences with Ukraine, but on his own terms. In this regard, members of the Federation Council assured a possible decline in allocating aid to Ukraine after Trump's victory, while legislators of the Duma said that the decision should be made by the Kremlin and not by the White House. Meanwhile, the president of Russia, Vladimir Putin, and his Turkish counterpart, Recep Tayyip Erdogan, recently held a telephone conversation in which they discussed several issues, including the peace process with Ukraine and the readiness of the parties. In the United States, the judge overseeing Donald Trump's election interference case dismissed on Monday at the request of U.S. Department of Justice (DOJ) Special Counsel Jack Smith. Smith had asked him to dismiss 2 federal cases against the Republican president-elect, which accused him of attempting electoral meddling, seeking to overturn his 2020 election defeat, and mishandling of secret government documents. The decision was allegedly made to a long-standing DOJ policy that bars the prosecution of a sitting president, and not because the charges lacked merit. The ruling from U.S. District Judge Tanya Chutkan puts an end to the federal effort to hold Trump criminally responsible for the January 6, 2021 attack on the U.S. Capitol led by his supporters. And now we have a short break coming up, but first remember you can join us on TikTok at TeleSUR English, where you'll find news in different formats, news updates, and more. We'll be right back. Stay with us. Welcome back to From the South. The first Vice President of the United Socialist Party of Venezuela, Diosdado Cabello, assured that the Simón Bolívar Liberator organic law will eliminate impunity for those who violate the Venezuelan constitution. The Vice President of the PSUV pointed out that the Venezuelan far right has gone beyond the permissible limits with its constant calls to apply sanctions and invade Venezuelan territory. Cabello assured that the new legislation will allow to judge and punish those who violate the principles contemplated in the Constitution with the purpose of harming the Venezuelan people. Likewise, the minister assured that this law will prevent radicals from making decisions and taking part in the Venezuelan political life.
There is an open consultation now nationwide of the Simón Bolívar Liberator Law, an extraordinary legal instrument that will allow decisions to be made against those who violate this constitution. Enough is enough. Impunity is over. They have crossed the permissible line. They call and continue to call for invasions, blockades, persecutions only to hurt our people.
The first Vice President of the United Socialist Party of Venezuela, Diosdado Cabello, recalled that the extreme right-wing groups are not facing just an individual, but a whole revolution.
We are military targets, that does not concern us, and we are less concerned about what Eric Prince, an extortionist, says. We will continue working. For example, on Saturday we have a national deployment event. That's the mistake these people make. They think the problem is a person. But this is a revolution that has taken shape. They are not facing just a person, they are facing a whole revolution.
Venezuelan Executive Vice President Delcy Rodriguez called on oil workers to defend the oil industry and denounced that the extreme right was behind the recent attacks against a major gas complex in the state of Monagas. The Executive Vice President stated that the far-right opposition leader Maria Machado is part of those who planned the attack on the Muscar plant, which processes 80% of the gas required by the country for the operation of companies, as well as for the automotive, electric economic and domestic sectors. For his part, the president of the PDVSA, Héctor Obregón, highlighted the work of the energy workers since the day of the attack, pointing out that although they have managed to repair most of the damage, they continue working on the total recovery of the complex. Likewise, Rodriguez pointed out that for many years, the United States has been trying to get hold of Venezuela's largest oil reserves, which are the largest in the world.
It has been a permanent desire of the government of the United States to get hold of the largest oil reserves of this planet. It is not something new, but look. I only wanted to bring up an episode from the past to understand what happened recently on November 10th, when we woke up on Sunday, at 7:30 in the morning, with a grenade in the North Dock of the state of Zulia, which sought to prevent the shipments to the CRP for the production of fuel, when that same day in the afternoon they caused an explosion in the Petrosidinio upgrader to paralyze the production of diesel. Fortunately, we are prepared for contingencies and for extremist attacks. Do not be surprised. Do not be surprised.
The Executive Vice President, Delcy Rodriguez, also stressed that this recent attack is part of the coup agenda of Maria Corina Machado, who is backed by drug trafficking and paramilitarism from Colombia.
Just 24 hours after that terrorist attack against the gas distribution heart of Venezuela, a mercenary, an outstanding torturer and murderer and intimate friend of Maria Corina Machado, came out to claim responsibility for the attack and to give details of what was happening, of how Venezuela had been affected in the state of Managas, at the latitude, giving the coordinates and everything. They did the attack, and then they gloat. For them it is pure joy. And who is asking for that? Who plans that? The drug trafficker Machado, who pretends to be very courageous, but when we told her that here are the women of Venezuela she ran away. She went away with the drug traffickers and the paramilitaries from Colombia.
The ALBA-TCP member states congratulated the president-elect of Uruguay, Yamandu Orsi, highlighting the legacy of his political platform, the Broad Front in the Unity of the Latin American and Caribbean Peoples. Through a communique, the intergovernmental organization stated, the member states of the Bolivarian Alliance for the Peoples of Our America People's Trade Treaty, ALBA-TCP, celebrate the holding of the second round of elections in the Eastern Republic of Uruguay, in which the Broad Front candidate Yamandu Orsi was selected as the new constitutional president of the Republic this Sunday, November 24, 2024. The statement continued as follows. The ALBA-TCP member countries recognize the democratic disposition of the Uruguayan people for a victory that in turn expresses a significant defeat of neoliberal policies and anti-popular positions. Likewise, the countries of the Bolivarian Alliance congratulate President-elect Yamandu Orsi and his political platform, the Broad Front, and wish them the great success in their upcoming administration to wisely lead Uruguay along the path of progress and social welfare. Finally, the document points out the Bolivarian Alliance celebrates the sovereign victory of the Uruguayan people, confident that President Orsi will know how to resume the unpostponable path of Latin American and Caribbean unity, to which the Broad Front governments contributed so much in their previous administrations. As stated by José Gervasio Artigas, the most famous Uruguayan hero, the cause of the peoples does not admit the slightest delay. In Ecuador, authorities registered a historic record high of more than 76,000 hectares burned so far in 2024 by forest fires. The National Risk Management Secretariat reports that there are currently 13 active fires in 5 provinces. The province of Loja is the most affected so far, with 32,958 hectares destroyed, including areas of the Policarpus National Park. The Ecuadorian Air Force discharged 19,000 liters of water as part of the firefighting efforts, in which more than 300 firefighters and 200 volunteers are participating. Authorities added that so far this year, forest fires have left 7 people injured, 235 victims, and 317 people affected. We have a second short break coming up, but before we invite you to visit our YouTube channel at TeleSUR English, there you'll be able to rewatch our interviews, top stories, special broadcastings, and more. Hit the subscribe button and activate the notification bell to stay up to date on the world's most recent events. Final short break, don't go away. Welcome back to From the South. Cuba stretched once again a hand of peace and reconciliation to the world within the framework of the 11th plenary session of the International Parliament for Tolerance and Peace held in Cambodia in Southeast Asia. The plenary session was founded in 2017 as a mechanism to promote the culture and peace and fight off discrimination and extreme violence. While the International Parliament is made up of 58 delegations representing parliaments of different global regions, on the 11th plenary session, the Cuban delegation appreciated the support of the meeting in the struggle against the inhuman U.S. blockade. Likewise, the Cuban representatives reaffirmed their commitment to peace, tolerance, and reconciliation grounded in ethics, humanism, and dignity of the Cuban Revolution.
I take this opportunity to express once again Cuba's steadfast will to continue expanding and diversifying its relations on the grounds of dialogue, respect for sovereignty, and peace among all nations. On behalf of the Cuban people, I'd like to express our deepest gratitude for the permanent and unwavering support in the struggle of our country and the world for putting an end to the economic, commercial, and financial blockade imposed by the United States of America.
Protesters mobilized in Pakistan's capital Islamabad to demand the release of former Prime Minister Imran Khan. In the outskirts of Islamabad, several citizens who support the Tehreek-e-Insaf party were attacked by the security forces with tear gas. Besides, roads were blocked by police agents. The mobilization also aims to demand the dissolution of the current administration and to call for a new election day. After his ouster from power by the parliamentary motion in 2022, Imran Khan has been an outspoken critic of the Pakistani government, being arrested in 2023 on charges of corruption and manipulation of election results. The government of China has rejected on Monday the U.S. military plan to deploy missiles in Japan and the Philippines. In a statement, China's foreign ministry opposed the United States plan expected to be completed next month, which involves the deployment of several missile units on the Nansei Islands in southern Japan. The North American nation has recently strengthened military cooperation with countries in the Asian region in the face of growing tensions of Beijing over the Taiwan Straits. On the other hand, authorities recalled that peace in the region depends on respect for the principles of self-determination and non-interference, as well as the recognition of China's sovereignty over the islands of Taiwan.
China strongly opposes related countries using the Taiwan issue as an excuse to strengthen regional military deployments, provoke tensions and confrontation, and undermine regional peace and stability.
In the United Nations General Assembly, November 25th was approved as the International Day for the Elimination of Violence Against Women. More in the following report.
Patria, Minerva,
and Maria Teresa Mirabal, three sisters known as the Butterflies, who defied the dictatorial process of Rafael Trujillo in the Dominican Republic. For decades, this dictator imposed a regime of fear, assassinations, and repression. Thousands of opponents disappeared, freedom of expression was silenced, and the country was plunged into darkness. His legacy is a stain on history. The three sisters became symbols of the struggle against oppression to liberate their homeland. Their assassination, by orders of dictator Trujillo on November 25, 1960, marked a before and after in the history of Latin America, that far from silencing them, expanded their voice. Today, their legacy continues to inspire those who fight for justice and equality. The sacrifice of the Mirabal sisters laid the foundation for the International Day for the Elimination of Violence Against Women, a date that seeks to remind us that violence against women is a violation of human rights. Today, as we commemorate the three sisters, we reaffirm our commitment to build a more just and equitable world for all women.
We have come to the end of this news brief, but you can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net and join us on social media. We are on Facebook, X, Instagram, Telegram and TikTok as well. For TeleSUR English, I'm Alejandra Garcia. Thank you for watching.
Thank you.